You want to grow an amazing container garden that's going to give you lots of harvests of lovely crops and beautiful flowers to look at. In today's video, I'm going to offer you 5 of my favourite tips for growing plants in containers. That's fruits and vegetables and flowers too. It's really important to get the size of your container right, as your plant is going to be growing in this throughout the rest of the season. If you're growing a small herb or you're growing some salads, then you can get away with a 15 to 20 centimetre pot and you should be okay throughout the season. If you're growing a tomato or a melon, you need anywhere from a 40 centimetre pot right up to an 100 centimetre pot. With a fruit tree or a fruit bush that's in a container, you want to make sure that pot is quite deep so that you can allow the compost to really settle and allow those roots to grow down further. Research what your plant needs and make sure that your size of your container matches what it needs. I've seen it time and again where people try and grow lots of plants, or they grow plants in smaller containers, and it really doesn't work because the plant needs that space to grow its roots and to support itself. The second thing to consider is the type of compost you use in your pots. Remember that your plants are going to be growing for the rest of their life in this pot, so it's really essential that they get the right food, and it's also essential that they're growing in the right conditions. Some plants need more gritty compost. Your cactuses and your succulents need that kind of grit to grow really well, and other plants like tomatoes and any edible crops need a bit of a lighter compost, but one with rich food in it. So it's really important to pay attention to what the plant needs. Research, look at books, look online, and see what kind of compost will suit that plant. If you get this right, your plant will grow amazingly. If you're enjoying this video so far, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the like button down below. It helps to send this video out to more people so I can inspire and encourage other gardeners to grow amazing container gardens this year. How do you get your watering right? If you water your plants too much, then they could be waterlogged and they could be prone to disease and mould. If you don't water your plant enough, then it could die off because it's too dry and the roots can't get access to that water. The best thing to do is to lift your pot up if you're able to, and if it feels quite light, then it needs water. And if you can't do this, then look at the rim around the edge of your plant pot. If the soil is compact and pulling away from the edge, then it really needs the water. If you can't do these two things, another really good way to tell is to take your finger and to push that down about 1 inch. If it's quite dry and it's not feeling very moist at all underneath, then it needs a good water. The fourth thing to consider is fertilizer. Your plants will need lots of food because they're not growing in normal natural soil. So make sure you can get things like seaweed feed and lots of other nutritious types of feed. Look at what kind of plant you're growing. If it's a flower, then it might be okay just with compost. If it's something like a tomato or a crop, then it will need something like a seaweed feed or a vegetable and fruit based plant feed. You can also make your own organic plant feed by taking things like comfrey and nettles or any weeds that you pull up, pushing them down with a stone, filling that up with water and leaving them for 2 weeks. It will stink, but it will be full of nutrients, and you can mix this in with the watering when you're doing it, and it also just help to add some more food to the plants and give them a really good feed as they grow. I'd love to know what your favourite tips are for a really good container garden. Drop them in the comments. The fifth thing to consider is spacing. How much spacing do you give your plants in your pots? With smaller plants like salads and herbs, you can cram them in a little bit more. And if you're not growing your plants for very long, like maybe growing some micro salads, you don't need to worry at all about spacing. It's really for the bigger things like tomatoes or fruit trees or melons. If you're going to grow any of those types of plants, they do need a lot more space. Just make sure they're getting the right amount of space and they will grow amazingly well. Let's recap on the 5 tips I've talked about today. The first is to consider the size of your pot. The size of your pot is so important for different plants. The second thing to consider is the soil. Every plant needs a different type of soil. The third thing to consider is how often you water your crops. And the fourth tip is to remember to water your plants often with a plant feed. The fifth and final tip is to not overcrowd your plants. There you have it. Those are the 5 tips recapped. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you found it useful and inspiring. Please do share with your friends if you know anyone who's growing a container garden this year. If you'd like to check out any more of my videos, you can find them over here.